Here we go. So this is very short, but I like slides. They make me feel like I'm organized. So Bragworthy Bylines, creating a portfolio, and you obviously portfolio, you've probably heard of that before. Maybe you have one. Maybe it's totally new to you though. So I just want to cover the basics so everybody is on the same page. All right, so what is a portfolio? So you can think of a portfolio as an advertisement of your writing skills and services for prospective clients. Here you will detail what you do and provide work samples, client testimonies, and a brief informative overview of your biography and work history, if applicable. So that is just the simple overview of a portfolio and why we have one. What to include in your portfolio. You're going to include a few different things, and don't worry if you see some of these and go, oh, well, I don't have those, or like, what if I don't have those? That's okay. There's no, law for what you have to include in your portfolio. These are just ideas. Every portfolio is a little different, but a few of the things that you would want to include are samples of your best writing. And if you have writing across a diverse skill set, that's great. So if you did copywriting here and you wrote an article over here, and then maybe you did social media copy for over there, just, showcasing what you've done and that you have a diverse skill set is good if possible. You're going to want to include clients and publications that you've worked with. It's fun to include the logos of those places. It kind of just like makes your portfolio just look a little bit more interesting and eye-catching and fun. And so I like to include logos. And then a short description of what you did with or for them, and maybe the result, if that's worth mentioning. Your services, what services do you offer? Depending on who you're pitching to, you can modify your portfolio, but list the top 3 services if you have more than one, with brief descriptions. So when you're sending it in, they can see the kind of work that you're doing, even if you are applying for something like one particular thing. I think it's good to have some of the other things that you offer in there in case, they realize, oh, we actually have a need for this, or, sparks an idea about something else. And then lastly, for now, testimonies. If you have written client testimonies about working with someone, those are excellent because it's just that social proof is what they call it, to show that you've done this, you've done a good job, people hired you, they liked you. Because when people are starting to work with you for the first time, they don't know. It's always a little bit of a gamble. So the more sort of reassurance that you can give them that you've got this and they're not wasting their time and they're not wasting their money on you, the better. I always like to think of it just like I do with other kinds of pitches. Like, let's spoon feed people what they need to make an easy decision and to give you an easy yes. And so some of those things that you put in the portfolio can really be beneficial in that way. So in what form do you do your portfolio? There's a couple of different ways to do it. I'm going to show you examples in just a minute. But the number one is, or not the number one, what I do, I have a PDF document that I created in Canva, which Canva is definitely your resource for that. I mean, you can look like you are like a graphic designer with your portfolio. Mine looks like super fancy, and it wasn't even anything I didn't even try to make it look fancy, but because I did it in Canva, it looks really nice. And that's one way to do it. You can also do a landing page, which it's just really random that these 2 examples, both of the names are Elise. I realized that after I put them down, not related, but you can do a landing page, which I'm going to show you, or you can do an integrated website type of page. So I'm going to stop share here so I can show you some of those things. So give me 1 second and I'm going to pull that up for you so you can see exactly what I mean. Whoops. Okay. EliseRPeterson.com. Let me go there. Okay. I'm going to go back and share screen. Okay. So this is the landing page version of a portfolio. Pretty simple. A lot of people have really simple ones like that. She kind of, put her information over here on the right. And then over here, you can see she's got a few different categories of her writing, different things she's done, visual work. So if you have different kinds of services or different kinds of things you can do, you can divide them up in this way. But you can see it's very simple. Like it doesn't have to be super fancy. Now the other one, let's see, the other one was elisedobson.com. So let's go there. This one is more integrated into her website. So this is like her main website. She has other things on there, but you can see that she kind of made her website almost like her portfolio. So you can see here are the logos. There's some testimonies down here. Here's some of the projects she's done. Now, this is a lot more fancy and advanced than you would need to get at all. I just wanted to provide a couple of different examples for you. And then I'm going to show you mine. So this is, sorry, let me go back up to the top. And this is, I'm just now remembering that somebody told me that this wasn't downloading correctly in the library. So if it's not, I'll make sure that you're gonna get a copy of this just so you can see it for yourself. But like I said, I made this in Canva. I didn't really have a good space for it necessarily on my website, and I just wanted it to be something separate for me. So you can see here, I just like picked a Canva design, filled in my info. And honestly, when it comes to Canva, like they sort of guide you in terms of how something can look. So I probably wouldn't have put a table of contents, but because they sort of have this space already set aside for that, I was like, well, I'll just like make it look really nice, right? So you can see here, I did the table of contents. Then I introduced myself with a picture. I think having a picture is really good. And then I really just continued to go by how the Canva slides were lined up and just kind of go in that order. So publications, there you can see my logos, selected writing, some of my past clients to show examples. Now this is like a rough version. Like if I were going to finalize this, I would probably put more information here beneath the clients and say more about what I did for them. And then onto my services page, here's some of the things I do. This is like probably too many services, but I was just trying to be comprehensive when I put this together. I'd probably limit it so it's not overwhelming to the person, or customize it to the client in terms of what they're looking for. Then here I might put, this is just a suggestion, but these are packages. So here's maybe one, small, medium, large type of like kind of copywriting package or digital package that I might do. Again, you don't have to do it in package form, but just presenting things in a way that, are feasible. Like somebody can kind of wrap their mind around, be like, do I want to do this? Do I want to work with this person in this way? So it's more specific. Then I'm like, what to expect once you choose a package to work with me, here's what will happen. Clarity is always good. Who I've worked with. I talk here about some of the other brands I've worked with and, what we did together and all of that kind of a thing. So putting those names down, and then look forward to working with you, all of my contact info, blah, 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 blah. So obviously this seems like a lot. Like this seems like, whoa, this is a big portfolio. But hold on, let me get back to this. And again, I don't think that is something that you have to do to that extent. And there's probably simpler templates on Canva. But those three are the different ways that you can display. And then there are also some websites and apps that are made specifically for creating a portfolio that you can share. And I'm going to share some links to those as well. I have not used them, but I know some people do, and they can make it even easier for you. So a question that I get a lot, but what if I don't have a lot of experience? What if I don't have clips? What if I don't have a lot of clients to look back on? That's okay. Everybody has to start somewhere, and it is possible to create a portfolio seemingly out of nothing. And so a couple of the things I would recommend is use what you have, even if that's volunteer work or a free website. Also, like, do you have friends or family members that you could do some writing for, whether that be for like a family business website or, copy for a newsletter, or, do they work with an organization? Do they volunteer with an organization that could use, your writing skills? Basically anything that you can do to be able to say, I have this experience. And usually when you can ask around friends and family, they will possibly have something. Even if you weren't technically a writer in a former job or current job even, did you ever write something that the company ended up using? That is experience. Did you write a newsletter? Did you write an email? Did you write copy for a launch or a product? Anything like that can count as well as, experience and clientele. I have sometimes used, even though I wasn't freelancing at the time when I worked, there's a couple of different places I worked. I still say, I have worked with these places, because even though they were my full-time job, I still worked with them. I still did work for them, even though it was my full-time. So think in terms of all of that professional experience you have and how you could roll in some of those things into your portfolio. Other things you can do, seek out guest writing on blogs that accept them, so you can get a few legit website bylines. There are a million blogs out there on a million different things, and I know a lot of people do take guest posting. It's a matter of reaching out, making a list. Maybe you are like in a group of writers, or maybe you are active in some kind of Facebook group on like a topic or a niche topic. Those are places that you can seek out places to write, and that can be put on your portfolio. Medium is one of my favorite places to recommend for people, because if you don't know Medium, it's a free platform. You can sign up for an account there, and there are actually real full magazines that run completely on Medium. But basically, it's just this really nice writing platform. You can write about anything you want, and even though there's no sort of barrier, or you don't have to pitch an editor to do it, it still like has this aura of like professionalism and like, okay, like you wrote on this platform and other people are seeing it. It's hard to explain, but it's a good place to do some test writing, or maybe just write on some niche topics that you're exploring in terms of, the topics that your clients would cover. And you can write like a nice essay or a nice article there, and showcase what you can do on that topic, and send them the link to Medium. Sometimes people won't even know that that's like just like a personal thing that you can do. Focus in your portfolio more on what you offer than what you've done. If you're really coming up short on the experience, talk more about what you can do for them. As we saw in the landing page example, it doesn't have to be a ton of information, but it is a good place to be able to send people so you seem legit. So that's why I think it's really good to have a portfolio. Sometimes a client may ask you for a portfolio. Sometimes they may ask you for a resume. I think a portfolio is better to send, or at least to send with a resume, because it's just gives more context to your experience, while a resume is usually only about a page and doesn't have quite the detail that a portfolio is going to have, that's really going to sell you for the job. So a few ways you might want to consider standing out in your portfolio is spicing up your bio to make it fun and add something unique or interesting about yourself, because personality can go a long way. You just never know when something about you is going to connect with the person that's reading it, whether it be, that you run marathons, or you like playing a band or something like that. I think adding those bits of personality can sometimes be the key to really making a personal connection that can make all the difference. So think about that when you're writing your bio. Copywriting. So make sure your copy isn't boring. Give your words some pizzazz and make it more interesting than reading white-lined notebook paper. I mean, I'm guessing that a lot of these people that are receiving portfolios and resumes just like their brains are like mush from getting such boring people that are coming to them each day. And so if you can write in a way that it has a little bit of color to it, I think that's really going to stand out. And it's important as you are applying for freelance writing jobs to show that you have writing skills. And then lastly, the design. Your portfolio doesn't have to be super fancy, but giving it some color can, or eye appeal, can help you out. So you saw mine, that was super fancy, but even just adding some colors or even design to it, just making it look nice and professional and not just white paper, that I think will help you stand out. And we're always looking to stand out. So a few like kind of closing ideas on how to make your portfolio work for you. I mentioned the website that you can create it and use the link to your own portfolio. That's glossytype.com. So check that out if you're interested in sort of a more easy way to just create this and fill in the blank. I think that's pretty much what it is. A couple other things are, you could create a Pinterest board with pins that link to published clips. Like that would be a really creative way to showcase some of your work. I know that's probably outside the box, but I thought that was an interesting idea. I already mentioned publishing your work on Medium, but LinkedIn is another really great place. Not sure how into LinkedIn you guys are, but it is a great place to be active. And LinkedIn is always looking to promote thought leadership, and they are really wanting people to come on to LinkedIn and talk about the niches and the expertise that they have. And so I've been experimenting with it lately in terms of trying to post more, trying to write tips, and just sort of make my voice heard there. And they have the option to write articles. And so that's another way you could write something on LinkedIn, articles that you don't have a gatekeeper for that, and you could use that link in your portfolio as well. So I would highly recommend kind of just getting on LinkedIn and poking around and seeing what pops up in the feed for you, because you'll be able to see what's popular with other people and maybe mimic that for yourself in terms of how you can write something for your portfolio. I already said pitch your samples as guest posts for other websites. Consider past writing you've done for jobs and use that as experience, just to reiterate that. And honestly, with the testimonials, like sometimes those are the hard part when you're first getting started. But if you have worked at all with maybe past coworkers, colleagues, friends, family that can vouch for you and your skill as a writer, you can use testimonies from people like that as well, just to get you started. And then once you have a few clients under your belt, like you'll always want to ask them for testimonials. You might have a process when working with someone where you ask them, hey, could you just say a few words about what it's like to work with me? You could put that into place, because collecting those testimonials is going to be one of the most powerful things you can do in building your freelance writing business. And even though it can be uncomfortable to get those, sometimes it's totally worth it because they go a long way. And then lastly, don't be timid about your skills and experience. When you're writing your portfolio, it's not the time to be humble. It is the time to show off what you got. And that kind of reminds me of, I don't remember the exact stat, but it was something like, if women apply for a job and they don't have like 95% of the skills listed on the job opening, or sorry, the women won't apply for the job. And it was said, like, if men will look at it, and if they only have like 40% of the skills, they will apply. And so I know we're not only ladies here, but that is something to think about. Like, you don't have to be able to do everything. You don't have to be an expert on every single facet of what you're aiming to do, to be confident about what you can do and what experience you do have. And so emphasize that, and don't think about the part that you're feeling self-conscious about, which that can be a mindset thing, but just a little reminder there. And a couple of things to remember: portfolios are only for copywriting and content writing or digital marketing services. Don't send a portfolio or a resume when pitching a magazine or newspaper. Just want to make sure I make that distinction. Portfolios are just one way of introducing yourself. Discovery calls and other ways to present yourself online are also important. So on that point, I would say make sure that your social media profiles and things are the way that you would want them to look if a potential employer was looking at them. So, if you have Twitter, are you keeping it professional? If you have other online spaces where if they Googled your name, they could find you. Is it presented in a way that you would be okay with them seeing? Because that's certainly something that they do and could happen. Lastly, don't overthink your portfolio. Get a basic one together and then you can improve along the way, because done is better than perfect in this case.